Thanks very much. You're very welcome. Ms. Quavy? If everybody is ready, let's call the meeting to order. Thank you. Before we start,
Bring up the code in the back room. There's gonna be a 10 o'clock meeting in the back rooms. Whoever put the code there, they can just bring it back in here.
I put mine on the floor here.
Yeah, yeah. So, yeah, whoever it is, just bring it this way.
Okay.
Yep, they should be all set.
Thank you.
Ms. Spivey, ready? Okay, we're calling the meeting to order. The Wayne County Ethics Board, it's a couple minutes past 9. We're set to go. Ms. Spivey, would you like to do the roll call for us?
Mr. Young, Mr. Woods,
Present.
Mr. Schaefer,
Present.
Dr. Ford,
Present.
Dr. Carnell, Vice Chair Lewis,
Present.
Chair Thomas.
Present.
You have a quorum present.
Well, let's move on to the minutes. Has everybody had an opportunity to review the minutes from our March meeting? Give you a couple minutes. And if anybody wants to make a motion to amend, modify, or accept, let us know. Good. We have a motion to accept. Any second?
Second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, say nay. Think we have approval. The minutes have been approved. Let's talk about unfinished business under paragraph C. We've had this matter concerning our proposed amendments put on the agenda for future meetings, not just the meeting today, as unfinished business. So with that said, is Ms. Johnson, would you like to give us an update on the proposed amendments being considered by the commission?
Morning.
It worked.
Would you like to sit at the table there next to, there you go.
Good morning. Again, Felicia Johnson, attorney for the county commission. With regards to the proposed revisions to the ethics ordinance, those revisions have been assigned to staff. They are currently under review. As you know, some of your revisions were somewhat significant, and they will require research. So this is not a simple review. So we are in the process of doing so. We are in the process and we'll do the research necessary for certain revisions. In addition to that, you should be aware, because we are going through the ethics ordinance, there are some revisions that my office may also recommend just because it hasn't been reviewed since its inception. So in addition to that, as we go through it, we're also doing our own review to determine, based on the notes and things we've noted over the last few years since the board has started, with items we also think should be proposed to the commission. So we are in the process of doing that. I know you're going to ask me for a time frame. Unfortunately, again, it's hard to give you that because other things happen, as I've mentioned before, that take our time. You know, there are things that happened within the last month that would have never been anticipated. The staff had to, divert their time to address with regards to funding and other health and safety issues within the county and just moving county business forward. But we are making an effort and we are reviewing it.
Well, thank you very much, Ms. Johnson. And I will tell you that I was planning to ask for a time frame, so you read my mind. But the only thing that I would like to say would be this. And I've said this, I believe, at each of our prior meetings over the last couple months. Number one, the board some years ago, and I honestly can't tell you whether it was 2 or 3 years ago, submitted revisions to the code. I don't know that the former chair, Mr. Pinkins, was ever able to find out, or whether I was ever able to find out what happened to those and why no action was taken. So what I would like to say would be this. Mr. Schaefer, Ms. Lewis, and I worked on those proposed revisions. We did some research on it. I don't know that we did all the research that your office would want done, and you may want to do more. But I would say this. I believe I speak for the board when I say, and I know I speak for Mr. Schaefer, Ms. Lewis, and myself, We put a lot of effort into those in terms of coming up with what we felt the board needed. So at any point in time that you would like to meet with us and talk to us, whether it's during the business day or at one of these board meetings or after one of the board meetings, we felt very seriously about those. So we want you to inform your staff and inform the commission that if there's anything that we could do to assist you, we will do that. And just let us know, and we'll look forward to another update next month.
I do
Okay.
have one question, if I may.
I think her speaker is off.
I did that, yes. it
One
is.
question, if I may. You indicated that your staff was making additions to the ethics ordinance in addition to what this board has already done before it's sent to commission. Is that correct?
My staff is coming up with its own set of recommendations. However, commissioners would be very clear about what you're recommending as opposed to what we're recommending.
Okay. My question to you is, are your changes going to be presented to the ethics board prior to them being presented to the
No.
commission?
It's the commission's ordinance and the staff for the commission and lawyers for the commission. I will approach my bosses, the commission, before I would present any changes to anyone else.
Okay.
So no, so they will go there. And again, I mentioned this before, exactly how this process will play out. I'm not certain of. Once we have assessed the ordinance and your revisions and we've determined our revisions, then I'll have to have that discussion with the chairwoman and potentially a chair of a committee that it may go to, whether it's, and I don't know if it'll be a special meeting, a special committee, whether it be a standing committee. They'll have to determine what that process would be. I would definitely keep you all informed. You will have an opportunity to weigh in on any change before it is actually voted on. So you will have an opportunity to review and comment. So it's not as if it'll just come out the blue. But any changes from our staff will actually go to our body first.
Very good. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Ms. Johnson. Moving on to new business under under paragraph D, item number 1. We received multiple communications over the last week or 10 days from Ms. Smith. Mr. Slezak has been circulating some, and I believe Ms. Spivey has been circulating some. And it's my understanding that what everybody was looking for was the receipt of a complaint from Ms. Smith. And that never occurred until yesterday afternoon. And yesterday afternoon, after much going back and forth, we did receive 2 complaints. I don't know if everybody has had an opportunity to look at them. Mr. Woods, did you see them? Dr. Ford, did you have an opportunity to review them? Ms. Lewis and I discussed them. Mr. Schaefer, did you have an opportunity? Okay. Well, I'll tell you what, while you're looking them over, maybe what we can do is ask Mr. Longstreet who has reviewed both of the complaints to give us a recommendation.
In regards to Ms. Sylvia Smith's complaint against the Department of Human Services worker, A. Moole, it has been identified that this person is not a Wayne County employee. Furthermore, the Department of Human Services is not a Wayne County department, thus they are not subject to the Wayne County Ethics Ordinance. It would be my opinion and recommendation that this board send Ms. Sylvia Smith a letter indicating that her complaint against DHS worker A. Mule or A. Mula does not fall within the purview of the Wayne County Ethics Ordinance or this board and will be dismissed for lack of subject matter jurisdiction. As to her complaint against Muhammad, who is an employee of the Wayne County Economic Development Department as a part of the Emergency Rental Assistance Program. That does fall within the purview of the Wayne County Ethics Ordinance, and it does fall within the jurisdiction of this board. Reading her complaint, it does not spell out a proper violation of the Wayne County Ethics Ordinance. However, her emails did pique my interest. However, my interest was piqued because it made an allegation of misappropriation of county funds, indicating that she did not receive funding based on her application for emergency assistance because there was some type of internal theft. Those allegations are highly speculative in nature. They do not have a factual basis for which an investigation can be opened, and thus I cannot use that information as part of this part of my recommendation to this board. However, at looking at the complaint on its face, it does not spell out a proper violation of the ethics ordinance. And it would be my recommendation at this time, until there's a further inquiry and more information, that this again should be dismissed for lack of subject matter jurisdiction.
Would another alternate course of action be to write to her and tell her that we don't believe we have subject matter jurisdiction, and if there's any other information or rule violations you want to bring to our attention, that we'll take a look at them? Is that possible? Is that doable, as opposed to just closing it now? Because I can tell you, the writing campaign on her part it's going to continue. So trying to get it and all of the information that she may possibly have that she wants to bring to the board's attention at the outset may be an option to be considered. What would your position on that be?
Well, any citizen should feel free to provide additional information once their complaint is dismissed. It's not like it's been dismissed with prejudice, meaning that we're not going to consider the issue again. If she could provide more information that establishes a factual basis for us to look into the issue, then she's free to do so. So she can write all she wants to. And this board or myself as the attorney will look at that, whatever she provides, and determine whether it falls within the purview of this board. If it does, it will be submitted. If it is not, then I will tell you so, and the board can make its proper decision.
Any questions or comments that anybody wants to make regarding Mr. Longstreet's recommendation here today? Let's take the complaints one by one. Let's deal with the first one. The individual identified as a DHS worker, A. Mull, or beneath that, it says ID Mulla. Anybody have any questions or comments that they want to have to address to Mr. Longstreet? Mr.
I didn't
Woods?
see any facts in it, so I didn't see any facts or in the complaint. I just saw a complaint, so with nothing in it, I don't see how we can proceed anyway.
Dr. Ford?
No, I agree that I don't think we have jurisdiction on that one. So I agree with the counselor.
Did you have an opportunity to review it now, Mr.? All right.
Members here.
And anybody want to make a motion?
Make a motion that we close these matters out, advise claimant that we're closing them out because of lack of subject matter jurisdiction.
All right. Well, I think that on Muller, we're saying we don't have jurisdiction because the individual is not a county employee. So
yeah.
dealing with them one by one. Could you make your motion as to DHS worker A. Muller?
Yes, motion would be to notify Ms. Smith that we're going to not pursue the flight because it doesn't conflict in the purview of the Lake County Ethics Commission. So,
Any discussion wanted on Mr. Schaefer's motion?
That's
All in, second? All in favor?
aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Motion carried. Mr. Longstreet, you'll prepare the letter to Ms. Smith in accord with what you've told us here today, your opinion is.
That's correct. And I want to make sure I would be clear in regards to Stephen Muhammad, the employee that works for the Economic Development Department. I would say that his complaint should be dismissed for failure to state a claim for which relief can be granted.
All right. Anybody want to ask any questions or make any comments regarding Mr. Longstreet's recommendation?
I was just. Now that's would that be with prejudice or without prejudice?
We don't really have with prejudice or without prejudice at this point. If it was in court, it would be without prejudice until she can come up with another claim. But here we don't have either one. So I would imagine that anyone would have an opportunity to feel unlimited complaints. If they don't establish the factual basis, they're going to be dismissed.
Right. I was just wondering whether or not we should possibly consider giving an option to amend the complaint with more particularity. It seemed like there's a claim there, but
it just doesn't seem to be that there's something missing. The facts are there for which relief can be granted. So, I don't know if we have the, that's an option, but it seemed like that would be, maybe an option to let the complainant know that we're still considering the case, but it's just not particular. There's no, the elements are not there to suggest that. So therefore, more particularity or more facts need to be made. So.
That could be added to the communication that's sent to her.
Okay.
Any further discussion wanted? Anybody want to make a motion?
I make a motion that we communicate with Ms. Smith that their complaint lacks subject matter jurisdiction, but that she can supplement it if she desires.
Second for that motion?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? The motion is carried. Ms. Spivey, I would like to raise a question that came up in my mind last night. We are considering these two complaints and they are not on our agenda for today. I believe somehow the agenda should be amended to show that the complaints were received yesterday after much communication back and forth with Ms. Smith. So we put them on today for consideration. I think that should be added in, whether you want to footnote it or not. Somehow I believe our agenda should be modified so that it matches with our minutes that we'll be considering next month. Is that doable?
Do you mean the receipt date?
The receive date,
specifically? Okay.
yeah, the receive date, yeah.
That was-
Yeah. Well, actually in here, it says communication dated March 29th. The complaints were received yesterday. So I think that's what should be amended. That's doable? Ms. Spivey?
I will defer to Commission Council because I don't want to advise on how to amend the agenda.
Ms. Johnson, can I bring you up to date on something to let you know what we're talking about? We have been receiving over the last week and a half to 2 weeks, many communications from Ms. Smith, expressing dissatisfaction with everybody, including this building, just everybody that works in this building, she said. So there was much writing back and forth by Mr. Slezak and Ms. Spivey, and we were going back and forth. Well, finally, yesterday afternoon, we got her complaints. So what was on the agenda for today was just a general discussion regarding all these emails that we had been receiving, and some of them were very tenacious in tone. So we were going to discuss that, but having received the complaints yesterday, we've considered them today. My question was, can we amend this agenda for today to show that the complaints were received yesterday? They were properly considered today. My concern is when we do the minutes for this meeting today in May, there'll be reference to the fact that the complaints were received and they were voted on, or is that not necessary? I really don't know.
Through the chair, so the agenda is a part of our notification process to the public of which you're going to consider at a meeting. So to change it now is changing it after the fact, after we've already given notice to the public. That being said, you have every ability and authority to modify your agenda during the meeting, which you have done. You've
Okay.
modified it. You've considered these appropriately. The minutes will reflect that. So anyone coming back will know, based on the discussion, that the complaints were received on the dates they were received, and that will be reflected in the minutes. And those are the documents we're required to maintain and keep.
All right, so.
So I think you're fine.
The agenda is fine. All right. Well, then let's move on. We've taken care of that.
I got one
ahead,
question.
yes.
Ms. Spivey, did we notify her that we received her complaint? Because I know with the emails back and forth, she had concerns.
I did. No, we didn't.
No, we didn't. Okay. Will we let her know that we did receive it and it did go presented to the ethics board today? I know 'cause she sent these emails about we're not receiving it and had concerns. So I think we should reach out to her that we did receive it and we did review it at this meeting, just to let her know.
Would you feel comfortable if he did all that in the same letter that she's going to be sent, or are you suggesting an email maybe
An
today?
email just today to let her know that we did receive it.
I don't know that we need a motion on that, but the vice chair is
that's
saying she
administrative-
believes we should do it.
So the vice chair is giving me direction to contact her. Okay,
Thank
no
you.
problem, vice chair.
Appreciate it.
No
No, I just
problem.
want to make sure we close the loop because there was a lot of emails back and forth with her concerns and making these accusations about the mailing and all of that. So just to close that loop. And then, we'll respond to her from what we decided today in a letter.
By the way, did anybody, I'm not asking for the phone number to be put on the record, but we've been searching around trying to get a phone number for her, so.
Oh.
So we could connect. Did that ever happen? That's a yes or no. I wouldn't want to, it did happen, so we have a phone number for her now.
Okay.
Okay,
Sounds
thank
good.
you.
Thank you.
Anything else, Ms. Lewis?
That's it.
Okay.
Mhm.
All right, moving on then to item number D2, communication dated April 17th, 2023 from Robert Davis, Ray Third Circuit Court. Just in summary, his communication is in here, but the question that he asked was whether the board has jurisdiction over court employees. It appears he's not complaining or contemplating complaining about any judges. But I think that what he wants to do is complain about some court employees. So with that said, I guess what we need to discuss is, first of all, whether we would have jurisdiction over them. And it's sort of, he's sort of asking for an opinion on it. So with that said, Mr. Longstreet, what would your recommendation be as to the communications received from Robert Davis on April 17th?
Well, first, whether we have jurisdiction over a Third Circuit Court employees. Specifically, I don't know the answer to that question. I've been told that we don't. However, I kind of question that because it's really the outcome of whether the Wayne County Ethics Ordinance applies is depending upon who he's talking about. He may say someone who is a Wayne County employee that's also working at the Third Circuit Court. The Third Circuit Court is a very big organization. So, and it encompasses a lot of different departments, both state and county employees. So we didn't know specifically who he's talking about. My recommendation would simply be to send Mr. Davis notice that file your complaint. If it falls within the ethics ordinance, it will be brought to the board. If it's not, it will be brought to the board and the board will notify him that we lack subject matter jurisdiction. But he can feel free, like any other citizen, to file his complaint and we will look at it.
Does anybody have any questions or comments that they want to make in regard to Mr. Longstreet's recommendation?
Agree with.
I would
Agree.
agree.
Anybody want to make a motion?
I make a motion, we send a letter to Mr. Davis addressing his issue that he can file a complaint. And then we will take it up in process on the board.
Anybody want to second that motion or have further discussion on it?
Second.
All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Motion is carried. You'll pen that letter to him,
I will.
get it out.
Yes.
Moving on to subparagraph E, such other matters as may be properly submitted before the board. Is anybody aware of any other matters that we want to discuss? Oh, Mr. Slezak.
Yes, Joel Slazak, Commission staff. I was asked by our Director of Administration, Tim Johnson, to inform the board members that starting with next month's meeting, with the May 17th meeting, normally you would park at the First Street Garage, but starting with the May 17th meeting, you may park at the Buell Street Garage, which is right across the street. And at the meeting, we'll be giving you vouchers. So when you exit, you present the voucher, so it'll be free parking.
Will it be a card that we get, Mr. Slezak?
No, it will not.
A voucher at every.
It's a voucher. It's supposed to be, what Tim informed me was it's supposed to be a voucher at every meeting. For whoever's here will get a voucher, if they did park at First Street. So I presume that in the May meeting, if you do have a First Street card, if you could turn it in at the May meeting, because obviously you have to have it today to get out of the garage if you park there. So.
Okay, anything else, Mr. Slezak?
No, thanks.
Any other matters that anybody is aware of that need to be discussed today?
Yes. May 17th, 2023 will be my 16th wedding anniversary. So I'm going to be asking that I be allowed to appear for a meeting satellite.
Well, I do know that all board members have to be present. And that's a hard, fast rule we've gone over with the commission staff in the past. I don't know of anybody ever mentioning you as our counsel appearing by Zoom. So what I'm going to do at this stage, I'm going to defer to Ms. Johnson or Mr. Slezak. But an anniversary, a wedding anniversary is certainly something that's very important in all of our lives. So Ms. Johnson, what say you about Mr. Longstreet appearing by Zoom?
That is not a violation of the Open Meetings Act. This, again, it refers only to board members, so any staff or otherwise can attend via Zoom if you so.
Okay, well, there you go. We hope you have a very happy anniversary in whatever you do to celebrate it. And we'll look forward to seeing you by Zoom.
Thank you.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
So just to add to the May 17th meeting, I will be out of the country. So I don't know if that's a date that works for everybody. Do we want to, we can do it by email?
Well, I will tell you this, if it turned out that we were not going to have a quorum because of your absence, I would want to talk to everybody about moving the meeting,
Okay,
moving it up a week or
Yeah, we'll be-
moving it forward a week.
yeah.
But for right now, today, does anybody else have a problem with that May meeting date?
And I can't move it up either because I'll still be out of the country.
You still be out of the
So,
country?
yeah.
Well, I tell you what.
That's my
this-
birthday, the May 10th.
This would be my suggestion. I think that many board members like myself have logged it in on their calendars and
Okay.
we're kind of counting on it. Why don't we do this, Ms. Spivey? You certainly wouldn't have to do it today, but sometime over maybe the next couple weeks, you'll take a poll and find out who's going to be able to attend the meeting. And if Ms. Lewis's attendance was not necessary in order to have a quorum, what we could do is just she'll miss and we'll hold the meeting. But if there's a problem with the quorum, we can talk about moving the date. Now, is that acceptable to all board members?
Yes.
Okay. Well, any other matters that should be properly submitted before the board? Or can we move on to public comments, Ms. Spivey?
If there are no other matters.
No other matters? Well, we'll move on to public comment. Are there any?
No emails have been received. I don't see any hands up on Zoom for public comments.
All right. Anybody want to make a motion regarding subparagraph G, adjournment?
Motion to adjourn.
Second, Mr. Woods, he's got the big smile. We'll count that as a second.
Okay.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion's carried. Right, we got through all of our work. Good seeing everybody.
Anniversary. What, thank you very
How many is it?
15.